The mountains of Ararat, plural. That's what the text actually says. But for over 150 years, expeditions have searched one specific peak. Explorers, spy planes, ground-penetrating radar. Every few years, someone announces they've found Noah's Ark. Every time, the story falls apart. The question this video asks is simple. What does Genesis actually say, and what does 150 years of searching actually prove? Here's what the text says: why the mountain everyone searches is a medieval guess, and what's really on that mountain. Fact-checked.
Start with the vessel itself. Genesis tells Noah to build it from gopher wood, a word so mysterious it appears exactly once in the entire Hebrew Bible. No one is certain what it means. Ancient translations guessed at squared timber, smoothed wood, even cedar. Modern Bibles openly footnote it as uncertain. The dimensions are specific: 300 cubits long, 50 wide, 30 high. Roughly a football field and a half. 3 decks, a single door. But the Hebrew word for ark, tevah, simply means box or chest. The text never calls it ship-shaped. It never mentions a sail, no oars, no rudder, no mast. The curved hull in every children's picture book, that is artistic tradition, not scripture. The flood itself, per the text, 7 days of warning, 40 days of rain, waters prevailing for 150 days. Then the ark rests. Noah does not step off for more than a year.
Here is the detail most retellings skip entirely. The Hebrew says the ark rested on the mountains of Ararat, plural, a region, not a peak. Ararat was the name of an ancient kingdom, roughly the Armenian highlands. It is a bit like saying, an object landed in the mountains of Switzerland. The narrowing to one specific volcano took about 1,500 years. The historian Josephus, in the 1st century, placed it broadly in Armenia. Islamic tradition and Syriac tradition pointed to a completely different mountain, Judi, hundreds of miles away. The identification with the peak we now call Mount Ararat only solidified after Crusader-era contact reshaped local tradition in the Middle Ages. The mountain everyone searches today is a medieval guess, not a biblical coordinate.
The real search history is long, and it mostly ends the same way. 1876, British scholar James Bryce finds a hand-cut piece of wood high on the mountain. He speculates it might be ark timber. He never claims to prove it. 1949, a U.S. reconnaissance flight photographs an odd shape in the ice near the summit, the so-called Ararat anomaly. Declassified CIA analysis calls it consistent with natural ice and rock formations, never conclusively identified as anything. The 1950s, explorer Fernand Navarra brings back wood. Radiocarbon dating places it at just over 1,000 years old, far too recent to be Noah's. 1960, a boat-shaped rock formation near Do Bayazit is dynamited into and surveyed. The surveyor's own conclusion, in their own words, a freak of nature and not man-made. A pattern is forming. Every generation, same mountain, same result.
Modern claims keep resurfacing. They fact-check the same way every time. Ron Wyatt, the same self-described researcher whose Ark of the Covenant claims we covered last video. He promoted that same Do Bayazit rock formation starting in 1977. A peer-reviewed 1996 geology paper concluded it is a natural folded rock structure. And Wyatt's own collaborator later called the discovery claim under oath absolute BS. 2010, a Hong Kong group claims 99.9% certainty they had found the Ark inside a wooden structure on the mountain. Archaeologists called it fabricated. The group's own former team scientist alleged hired workers had planted the wood. And a young Earth creationist organization ran independent carbon tests. Some samples were less than 100 years old. Starting in 2021, a research group uses ground-penetrating radar on that same Durapunar site. They report soil anomalies, internal layers. It has gone viral repeatedly since 2025, but no excavation has happened, no wood, no artifact, no proof. Even Answers in Genesis, an organization that wants the Ark found, has published a rebuttal. They call the new evidence a recycling of Wyatt-era claims already refuted decades ago. Here's the thing. People keep believing because the promise is real. The flood story is one of the oldest and most widely shared narratives in the ancient world. What archaeology is disputing is not that people remembered a flood. It's whether one specific piece of wood on one specific mountain is Noah's. Part of why this keeps happening. Mount Ararat sits in a restricted military border zone between Turkey, Armenia, and Iran. Full excavation has essentially never been authorized. So, much like the Temple Mount, the absence of a confirmed find cannot be treated as proof of absence either.
Archaeologists are blunt. Even if wood were found on that mountain, there is no way to connect it to Noah, not without an inscription, and even then, it could describe a different flood. The Institute for Creation Research funded a dozen expeditions of their own. In 2020, they publicly concluded, the Ark has not been found, and it is unlikely to be found. 150 years of searching, and the honest answer is still the simplest one. Nobody has found it, and no one searching today can prove they will. But faith was never meant to live in a piece of wood on a mountain. This is the last standalone episode on this channel. Sunday night, everything changes. Our series premieres. Historical Exodus, the evidence, the mountain, the sea. It begins Sunday. If this episode was worth your time, the single most useful thing you can do for the channel is share it with one person who would find it interesting. Sources for everything discussed are linked in the description. Faith comes by hearing. History comes by evidence. Let's see where they meet next time.